Very important. I have a question to ask you, and I want to underscore this point. Why is there not enough discussion about Joe Biden's taxes? Now, I know he didn't earn anything close to what Donald Trump earned and all the rest of it, but why hasn't there been a discussion about Joe Biden's taxes? Christopher Jacobs has written about this, and I've told you about this before in the Wall Street Journal. He wrote about it in the Federalist a couple of days back. It was ignored by the moderator in the first debate. It will likely be ignored by the moderator in this debate. But it must not be ignored. And as a matter of fact, if Joe Biden again brings up the president's taxes and says he only paid $750 in federal income taxes, and I want to remind you folks that he paid the alternative minimum tax tens of millions of dollars. I think it was $24 million. So they never say to him, how much did you pay in federal taxes? They always say, how much did you pay in the federal income tax? There are years when I've had to pay the federal minimum taxes. Years other people have had to do the same thing. That's the law. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the way it is. So it's very sleazy what they're doing. But here's what I'm hoping. That the president says, you know what, Joe, I'm glad you brought up taxes. Now I want to talk about your taxes. Here's what it says. Since the vice president left government service in early 2017, the Bidens funneled their income from book royalties and speaking fees, almost $15 million, through two corporations, Celtic Capri Corporation and Jicapa Corporation. They paid themselves modest salaries through the corporations on which they paid full Social Security and Medicare taxes. The Bidens took most of this book and speech income, over $13.5 million. It's quite a lunch bucket, Joe. Not as wages, but as profits from the two corporations. So in other words, they set up what's called an S corporation. Now, why did they do that? Taking that income as corporate profits, ready? Allowed them to avoid payroll taxes on the $13.5 million. So not taking it as personal income, but setting up these corporations and then treating it as profits, significantly reduced their payroll taxes on $13.5 million. Because Social Security taxes only apply to the first $132,900 of income, the Bidens didn't avoid paying the taxes that fund that program. But the 2.9% Medicare tax that applies to all income and the 0.9% high-income tax credit of the Obamacare bill applies to all wages and income over $200,000. For an individual, $200,000. For a family, over $250,000. So taking their income as corporate profits rather than personal income allowed the Bidens to avoid paying this combined 3.8% payroll tax on more than $13.5 million in income they received from 2017 and 2019. That's a lot of money. That's almost $400,000. And it says here in 2017, that saved them $381,852. And in 2018, it saved them $122,997. So in other words, $500,000. The total for 3 years was $513,540. That's a staggering amount that the Bidens did not pay in Medicare taxes and Obamacare taxes. $513,540,000. If they had paid as individuals, over $500,000 would have been paid into these programs that need the money. These programs that need the money. I mean, if you're going to create Obamacare as Vice President of the United States, if you're going to defend it, if you say it covers pre-existing conditions and you can't have the Supreme Court knocking it out, well, you got to help fund it, right, ladies and gentlemen? And if you say you support Medicare and you say you're going to actually reduce the age from 65 to 60, which, by the way, will kill Medicare, but okay, but that's what he says he wants to do. Yet he avoid paying over $500,000 over 3 years into Medicare and Obamacare. Now, why isn't this on the Fox News channel? Why isn't this on CNN News? Why isn't this on MSNBC News? You see, I'm not attacking Fox per se. I'm saying all these newsrooms and news departments ought to be talking about it. Why isn't Media Matters reporting this or Mediaite reporting this? Forget the Drudge Report. He's in the tank. And so Jacobs goes on, even as he released another set of tax returns showing his continued willingness to circumvent Obamacare taxes. The Biden campaign continues to run ads in which Biden claims Obamacare is, quote, personal to me, unquote. Democrats want to run on the law this fall, believing that fears over the Obamacare lawsuit pending at the Supreme Court will motivate their voters. But how personal can Obamacare be to the Bidens if they went out of their way to avoid paying Obamacare taxes? Likewise, the Democrats attempting to subpoena Trump's tax returns should answer a simple question. If they want those returns for nonpartisan oversight purposes, why haven't they called for an IRS audit of Biden's taxes? Particularly in 2017, Biden paid himself a paltry salary compared to the $10 million in corporate profits he received, an arrangement that might well violate IRS compensation guidelines. Why? Because, again, on that salary, he has to make those payroll tax payments. So if he minimizes his salary, he treats most of it as profit. He avoids paying most Obamacare and Medicare. The deafening silence from the liberal media notwithstanding, the real questions about Biden's taxes won't go away, nor should they. The American people have a right to know from middle-class Joe himself why he put his own financial interest over a law he supposedly personally cares about so much. This is Christopher Jacobs in TheFederalist.com, September 30. So let me cut through it and make it really simple so even Joe Scarborough can understand. For nearly 3 years, the Bidens set up two companies to wash through their income rather than treating it as individual income. They did that for one reason and one reason only: to avoid paying over $500,000 in Medicare and Obamacare payroll taxes. Now, do you want to know why most of the people in the media won't criticize this, Mr. Producer? Because many of them are doing exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. The wealthier they are, the more they're doing it. So they should be asked if they're doing it. Now that I've brought this up with a moderator from NBC News, whatever the hell her name is, Weaker, Werner, whatever, I just gave her some information that's not been used yet at a national level. And the question goes like this, Madam Moderator. Mr. Vice President, former Vice President Joe Biden, you talk about the president's taxes. Let me talk about yours for a moment. Very brief question. You set up two corporations, S corporations, in order to pay yourselves modest salaries, but to treat income you earned from speeches and books, of almost $15 million, as profits. And you did that for one reason and one reason only: to avoid paying over $500,000 in Medicare and Obamacare taxes. You say these two programs mean a great deal to you. You say you want to expand Medicare. You say you want to defend Obamacare from the Supreme Court, and yet you didn't pay your fair amount, and in some cases any amount, to help support these programs. Can you explain yourself, please? Would that take 30 seconds, Mr. Producer?